Endurance and evolution are the themes at play in Season 2, Episode 5 of 1923, titled Only Gunshots to Guide Us. The episode begins with Marshall Kent and Father Renault. They've encountered friendly cowboy C. Thomas Howell, who scoffs at Kent's Darwinistic nonsense, expressing his disdain for Marshall Kent. Kent sounds more like a disaffected citizen of Weimar Germany as he expresses sentiments that were losing popularity in America by 1923. They refuse to cooperate with Kent, but reluctantly they do tell Father Renault, whose hypocrisy continues to deepen, that they recently rode with Tiona and her friends, providing some useful clues for the not-so-dynamic duo from Montana. Tiona runs his horse and Pete are headed north on the flat, treeless plains. With their horses stressed from the conditions, Pete rides away alone to look for some much-needed water. As we'll find out, this already necessary move will also serve to confuse anyone tracking them. Run's horse tells Tiona he feels that while they're few in number and the Montana posse is indeed a concern, the three of them are a very small, mobile group that can move quickly and therefore have a high chance of escaping pursuit. We then join Marshal Fawcett and her deputies, who've encountered Spencer. After disarming him very carefully, an interrogation ensues. He's asked to explain why he's there and how he got his scars. He explains the leopard attack we saw in Season 1 and shows them the necklace he made of its claws as proof. Spencer reveals he's headed to Montana, causing Marshal Fawcett to wonder out loud how strange it is that so many people from Montana are showing up in West Texas. She's already met Marshal Kent and Renault, who told her of Tiona. Now that Spencer's in the mix too, it's too strange for her not to run it down. She decides to bring Spencer to the Amarillo Marshal's office to check out his story with some 1923 technology, the newly common telephone, and make a call to the authorities in Bozeman. On the train, we join broke, starving Alex. She's lucked out and gets hired as a waitress in exchange for food on her trip from the East Coast to Chicago, where she'll change trains. As we see Alex doing her various waitressing duties, the other passengers are all jerks to her, but considering she's penniless and starving, it's good enough, for now. The railroad comes off as strict but benevolent in this part of the story. It's basically Alex versus herself and her environment. She has to overcome the fact she's pampered and clueless, never having worked a day in her life. Now, it's work or starve. The Irish single mother she's sharing a room with on the train calls Alex weak, explaining she must make, marry, or steal money to get by in America, and since Alex is bad at pretty much everything, she's best off trying to make it on her looks. It's a harsh wake-up call for this character whose current lot in life seems to be to suffer. Since Jennifer helped Alex get on that ship to America, it's been a series of indignities for this ill-prepared former socialite and one-time British aristocrat. She traveled with the common people for the first time. Then she got poked and prodded at Ellis Island before being admitted to America as a new citizen. Most recently, she got beat down in Grand Central Station. This work for food offer is the first piece of luck she's had, so of course, it's short-lived. As Alex puts on the more practical waitress shoes the railroad has provided for her, franchise narrator Isabel May sketches out the harshness of the cycle of life and the strength inherent to all good mothers. Mothers, May says, can endure anything. A child's first act on this planet is to tear its mother in two. The mother is driven by a love that is indescribable to those who have not experienced it. It is not the butterflies of infatuation. It is the instinct of love. It's as haunting as always, but it's not as impactful as previous narration. We've already seen how bad it is for Alex as she slowly toughens up, so spelling it out again seemed to be sort of a waste of time. Alex has no clue how to act in her job as a waitress. She volunteers her opinions to people, breaking into the conversation of an apparently wealthy British couple who are amused and impressed by Alex's understanding and correct assessment of the world financial market. There are others on this train, however, who have a far more devious outlook towards Alex, as we'll soon find out. Alex falls victim to a predator for the second time in 2 episodes, as she's violated in an attack that's so incredibly brazen, it's a little hard to believe. This time she snaps and beats up her attacker with boiling hot coffee to the crotch and some serious blows to the head with a heavy coffee urn. The predator accuses Alex of assault through his broken teeth, and the railroad confines her. Locked up and alone, she lets loose a primal scream of anger and frustration. In Amarillo, the whole town's expanding, and the marshal's office has been upgraded since Fawcett's last trip. There, in a rare light-hearted moment for this season of 1923, Fawcett deals with the slightly salty female phone operators as she tries to put through a call to the authorities in Bozeman. The switchboard operators are as real of a historic fact as the female marshal is a fabrication, but it's a reminder that decent jobs for women are emerging in another attempt to keep the Fawcett character from being too overbearing by showing something more authentic than this character. The presence of Marshal Fawcett alone has changed the show's genre from historical fiction to historical fantasy. She's anachronistic. In dialogue that feels pretty authentic for the time, though, Fawcett manages to get County Sheriff McDowell back in Montana on the phone. McDowell shows the right amount of disbelief in Fawcett's legitimacy. He needs the federal marshal of Amarillo to verify she's for real before he'll even talk to her. Only after that does he cooperate, describing Spencer as a Congressional Medal of Honor winner. This tracks, but since McDowell has teamed Dutton all the way, I just don't know for sure if it's true. McDowell tells Spencer there's no real range war yet because it's still winter in Montana, so he should just stay away. Spencer simply says to tell Kara he'll be there soon. In the depths of the Yellowstone Park, we see Banner Creighton and a few henchmen in a place familiar to fans of the original Yellowstone show, the so-called train station where those who cross the Duttons depart this world. Turns out Tycoon Donald Whitfield is the one who discovered this lawless dumping ground. Expressing some contempt for the American justice system, Creighton dumps Whitfield's mistress Lindy's victim and departs. Meanwhile, in the dirty part of Bozeman, the aforementioned Lindy procures a new victim for the depravity she's learned from Whitfield. On the train, it's looking like jail and a lobotomy for Alex, but the British tourists she impressed with her education, the only witnesses to what happened to her, step up to Alex's defense. As she departs the train in Chicago, she manages to prevent her meager savings from being stolen. Alex finds out that it's still impossible to get a train to Montana, where the railroad ticket clerk explains, it's winter until June. The same 2 wealthy British tourists offer her a ride to Winnetka, where they say it's far safer and more like what she's accustomed to in England. The map tells us Winnetka is just north of Chicago. We've all seen it because it's actually the town where the house used for the exterior shots from the Home Alone movies is located. After the predatory pickup we'd just seen from Lindy in Bozeman, it's hard not to wonder if Alex might not just be in more trouble than ever now. Back on the trail north, we see Pete. His horse needs watering desperately when spotted by Kent and Father Renault, who decide to give chase. After Pete's horse collapses from all the strain, he's thrown but gets up, rifle at the ready, as we end with what promises to be the start of a faithful confrontation. To me, this wasn't a bad TV episode, but I've come to expect more from Taylor Sheridan. It was vaguely unsatisfying because all that seemed to happen was the characters made some progress towards Montana. There's only 3 episodes left, and we have several characters that are about 1,000 miles away from Bozeman, where we are running out of time to really play out this range war. We don't see Harrison Ford or anyone from the Yellowstone faction this week outside Sheriff McDowell's side of a phone call with Marshal Fawcett. Spencer and Alex continue their separate journeys, with only Spencer on a train headed north seeming to have any chance of making it to Montana in episode 6. I can't picture this series ending well if Spencer isn't back in Montana at some point in that next episode. We didn't introduce anything new into the story this episode. It just underscored themes and problems we've known about all season. While we did check in with bad guy Banner Creighton, we didn't really need to. We already knew what he was up to, and he merely repeated things Whitfield had said in episode 4. That sequence, calling back to the original Yellowstone show, was so meaningless it's probably fair to call it a member berry. I feel this was the most boring and redundant episode of 1923 yet, treading water with nothing but progress on the map to show for itself. While the progress towards the Yellowstone is welcome, it's now taken long enough. Taylor Sheridan successfully pulled off a few series endings, so who knows what he may have planned. If anyone can do this, it's him. Still, I can only give this episode a B-, meaning that the series is leveled down a little bit for 3 straight episodes. If the show doesn't pick up the pace and resolve a few storylines next episode, I'd be pretty concerned about how it all ends. I still have hope that episode 6 can start us towards a satisfying ending, but I have a new concern. The possibility that some of the story will be withheld so it can be finished in another prequel series set between 1923 and the beginning of the original Yellowstone show, which could mean waiting a couple of years to find out how some parts of the story end. Anyway, thanks so much for your time. Please, do me a favor, hit those like and follow buttons. Maybe hit the notification bell and leave me a 1923 comment. I answer every one. And consider subscribing to my channel. I'm Admiral Teague, and I hope you enjoyed my 1923 recap and review. Till next time, I'll see you out there.